My name is Dan Dorval, and I'm President and CEO of Dorval and Cherney Financial Advisors. I am an independent certified financial planner and author of my book, Financial Success for the Rest of Us, Reality-Based Financial Planning for Mainstream America.
Hi, my name is Leah Woodley. I'm an associate financial advisor with Dorval and Cherney Financial Advisors. Our conversations discuss what it means to do quality of life planning in all areas of your life.
Dan, it's our favorite time of the month. We get to announce another Quality of Life Nurse Award recipient. Why don't you tell us about her?
Well, our December Quality of Life Nurse Award winner is Megan Pringle, and she is with Children's Hospital here in the Twin Cities. And she had an excellent nomination from somebody that we know pretty well. And she talked about her integrity, her ethics, how well she helps her coworkers with everything that they're doing, and just simply how much she improves quality of life for everyone around her.
Sounds like an amazing nurse. I can't wait to meet her. Let's go ahead and bring her on.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Megan.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hi.
We have an extra helper today. This is my son, Mac.
Nice to meet you.
Say hi.
Hi. Well, congratulations on being our December Quality of Life
Thank
Nurse
you.
Award recipient.
Thank you.
You were nominated by Trisha Oxner, and she talked a lot about, just your ethics and integrity and work ethic, all of those types of things in helping to improve quality of life for your coworkers and your patients and just everyone around you. And so we always have a little bit of a conversation, just
Mhm.
sharing some of your story. Other nurses watch these types of
Sure.
interviews. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into nursing, and what you're doing
Sure.
right now?
I've been a nurse for almost 20 years now. Well, it was 20 years this year. I kind of just always knew that I wanted to get into nursing. Well, it was going to be nursing or education. I'm the oldest of four children, and my mom did daycare. So I kind of always had that mothering, taking care of people role and instinct. And I've always loved children. My brother and sister were premature babies, so I was always very interested in NICU. So initially, I worked with adults. I wanted to get my, good solid nursing foundation. Worked with adults, and then I worked in the NICU for probably 7 years. And then it was time to just get a new role that had a little better hours, a little better, life balance. I had met my now husband, and that's when I started working with Trisha. So I've been in the department with her for I think 11 years now. Trisha actually was one of the nurses who trained me in. And I worked there in my capacity as a regular nurse. And then I had my first baby, and she was a premature baby. So I went from nurse of a preemie to mom of a preemie, and I learned a lot about. I think I always was a good nurse, but I could have been a better nurse knowing what I know now, how stressful that was. Um, it was a wild ride. And after that, I worked for a few years, and then I took a position in our department, like a per diem. So I'm an as needed nurse. I have to work shifts for the hospital, and then I can pick up for coworkers as well. And I've been doing that for about 8 years now, and I love the flexibility of that. I'm very involved outside of work with my daughter's school. I'm one of three members of our PTSO, the parent teacher student group. So there's only three of us. We're small but mighty, so we do a lot of work. And I'm my daughter's Girl Scout troop leader. So I really like the flexibility of my role so that I can do those other things with my family. Yeah.
Well, you talk a little bit about that experience where you had the experience from the nurse's
Mm-hmm.
perspective in NICU. Then you had the experience from the parent perspective
Mm-hmm.
in NICU.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you talk a little bit about, how important it is for nurses to, they're addressing the concerns of people
Mm-hmm.
who are often experiencing the most stressful time of their life or one of the most stressful times of their life.
It
How
is,
do you
yeah.
balance that out as a nurse, understanding that from the parent perspective now?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I go into now is really no judgment of parents. It's easy, even in my department, to have a parent who is absolutely freaking out because their child is going into ear tube surgery. a 15-minute procedure all done, when we're having neuro cases, brain surgeries and huge surgeries. And it really doesn't matter because they are still putting their trust in us in a terrifying situation. And I think just like going in with no judgment, like we don't know where people come from, their backgrounds, their own battles with anxiety and worry. And I think that's the biggest thing, is to it's just being open and just supporting them through whatever they're experiencing.
And that's part of the reason why we celebrate nurses and the contributions they make to quality of life within our communities is we hear all the time about people who were struggling with some sort of a health issue, or maybe their kids had a health issue. And they talk a lot about, like, maybe the physician comes in, spends a couple minutes, talks at a level that the person doesn't necessarily understand,
Yeah.
and they might leave the room, and that person's anxiety or their concerns have not been alleviated. They've maybe even been elevated.
Right.
And then they'll talk about the nurse coming in and now explaining it maybe in a little bit more layman's terms.
Right.
Even though this
hopefully
is a big
slowing down and taking a little more time. That's my daughter is in 4th grade and she's just doing her very first like presentation. And we were talking about, speaking in public and practicing that. And she was like, what am I ever going to use this for? You don't use it as a nurse. And I was like, I use this every day I go to work. I have to go and talk to people until they can understand what I'm talking about. And I said, we got to slow down and sit down and answer people's questions. And she was like, oh, so you actually have to talk to all these people. And I was like, every day. But that's one of my favorite parts, I was telling her, is making sure that as I'm sending parents out the door, they feel confident that they're going to go home and that they can do this. Because it does feel overwhelming taking a child home fresh out of anesthesia. And you're like, can I even do this? You can. You just need to, ask your questions and let's go through it a couple times. So it is one of my favorite parts, is the education piece.
That's a really great point, because I don't think a lot of people think about nurses that way. They think about nurses being in a caregiver role
Right.
and you're taking care of sick patients, and they don't think about how important it is for the communication skills to put people a little bit more at ease when they're struggling like that. So I
And
appreciate that story.
set them up so they don't return. That's a big thing. Like, go home and stay home. You don't want to come back. I always say, like, it was nice to meet you. I don't want to meet you again. Like, go home, stay home, heal up at home. You don't want people returning because something has happened that they've misunderstood, or I don't know. My goal is always to get kids home, to stay home, because that's where they're happiest.
So is it getting tougher on that communication side? We hear from nurses all the time that their load is getting greater and greater all the time. There's just more people that you have to take care of.
Definitely.
And how does that affect you?
I do feel right now my department's a little immune from that. We've had a very low drop in our surgical procedures. But in the past, we have a set time frame. We're open at 6 a.m. and we close at 11 p.m. and families are gone long before that. And you are going through families, and sometimes rapidly, maybe a little more rapid even than what you would like, simply because they keep coming. That gets tricky because you can't. I'm all for efficiency, but we are not dealing with cogs and bits and pieces. We are dealing with humans, and everybody absorbs information at a different rate. You just can't plan a perfect day. You don't know who's coming in with what in their background, or what language barriers or cultural barriers that you're dealing with, and that takes more time. So in a perfect world, we're all way up here. We all have an understanding of the medical system. We've all done our research ahead of time, and that's not reality. So it does get to be sometimes very tight, where you're like, you're good. I hope you're good. And definitely on the floors where there's a little more pressure to get kids in and out. I don't like that. It's not, to me, that's not a healing place. We don't always cure, but a healing place gives people time for individual care. And I do think we lose some of that in our modern healthcare system, unfortunately.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I do appreciate that your concern for that human touch and that personalized care.
Mhm.
One question we do like to ask nurses is if you can give advice to other nurses who are interested in improving the quality of life of others, be it their patients, their coworkers, or even just people in their community, what advice would you give?
Oh, that's a big one. No, you can't. It's up all the way. No touching. Okay. No touching any buttons. Oh, that's a hard one. What advice? Honestly, just knowing that I don't think any of us need to be martyrs, but giving feels good. And it's okay to feel good when you give. One of my favorite songs is by a man from Duluth. His name's Charlie Parr, and the name of the song is 817 Oakland Avenue. And in it, it just talks about if you have enough, you make your table longer. You know, if you have more than you need, you pull up more chairs to that table. And I play that one for my kids, and we just talk about we have enough. And so we can continue to give and feel good that that will help someone, even in just the littlest ways. So yeah, just knowing that giving feels good is probably the biggest thing.
I love that.
Well, we do give a cash award for this Quality of Life Nurse Award. So we will be sending out $500 to
That's
you.
amazing.
Congratulations.
you.
Mac can use that to get more apples.
Yeah.
And I appreciate Mac hanging out with us today
Yeah.
and that you shared your time and your story with us.
For sure.
So thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's like I said, work has been kind of odd. I've been canceled a lot of my shifts, so I have not had a paycheck for a few times, and we're sharing this money with people. I had a girlfriend just pass away last week from cancer. So some of it will go to her family, and I have another girlfriend who just started her chemo and radiation journey with cancer. So some of it will go there. So we're going to spread some of this around.
But I already have money in my piggy bank.
Yeah. So we can spread it around, right? Yeah. So thank you. Well, I appreciate it very much. It's very exciting.
You are very welcome. Well, thank you so much. And once again,
Thank
congratulations.
you. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Bye-bye. Say
Bye.
bye.